talk today a little bit about body types and how that comes into play in weightlifting a little bit, and what I'd like to talk is a little bit about how that might come into a set position and why, and the variations that might come up. Here's Amir, young man that started lifting, pretty much a classic ectomorph, if you will. A little longer limbs, a little shorter torso, okay? Now, looking through this room, and if you can pan around, you're going to see it. You've got several different types right here. You've got your endomorphs with the opposite thing, the shorter limbs and the seemingly longer torso, and then the mesomorphs who are kind of in the middle, if you will. Kind of lengths, a little thicker generally, muscle-wise, not necessarily size-wise, but muscle-wise. And they've got average lengths of maybe both, although you've got to understand, Amir, thank you, you don't have to stand here and keep me company. You've got to understand that there are endless variations within human bodies of the lower half being more of one and the upper half being more of the other. Generally, but not always in weightlifting, we're dealing with a shorter type of person for his body weight, or we're trying to make a person gain weight to his body type and to his height. Amir's one of them. He's a young man, 15 years old, lifting. If he continues in lifting into an adult, we'll probably be trying to put quite a substantial amount of weight on his body. He'll get better lifting out of that. Somebody that's not, maybe they're not. Maybe there's going to be a limit to where we want them to go body weight type. But those things set to some degree, especially the set position, the positions you start people off in from the floor with the bar. Obviously, if you've got longer legs like Amir does, your hips are going to be higher. If you've got shorter legs and a longer torso, say, or an average torso, your hips may be a little lower. And it's going to be a variation of those things. And there is some play within those variations. There's not a set angle, and there's not only the angles and the levers that have to be considered there. There also has to be the basic strengths of the different major parts of the body, the torso and the legs, hips, things like that. If, for instance, I'm a big believer in that with women in general, I will try to set them at the lower end of a range rather than a higher end of the range of proper set positions, because my base feeling is that no matter how strong a woman's back might be, it's probably not going to be strong enough to deal with starting a little higher and putting up with the pressures put on by usually the much stronger legs and hip muscles, which is a natural thing with women. So I will generally, within limits, put their hips a little lower and save their back off the floor, and maybe have them tilt a little as they come up to attain a proper position mid-first pull. Where I might have a male with a longer leg, I might set him here at a back position. And these positions always with me are limited by, I want to see their knees in front of the bar. I want their shoulders somewhere almost vertically above the bar. Can be a little front, can be a little back on the odd occasion, but can be a little front. But I still want the knee showing in front of the bar a little bit at the set position. If the hips are too high and the knees go behind the bar at the set position, I don't consider that a very strong position. It very seldom works well. So I want to see that knee. But there are ranges that you can play with in there. And again, a male, stronger male in the back, I might put a little higher. However, all of these things, even though the body types do basically set the positions that you're going to use, there are a lot of individual changes, and a lot of it has to do with, at the set position anyway, how easily can I overcome the inertia of the bar sitting on the floor and make it move. Once the bar is moving, and once you've gotten the bar to come in, possibly stay over the base of support, of course, you may be able to move the back, you may be able to do other things with it. Breaking the weight off the floor is a position that just has to be really strong for you, because that's going to be about the hardest you work in there. Everything else is momentum and speed after that. Of course, the limb lengths, again, body types, the limb lengths determine how much power or speed you might be able to develop as you finish the pull and come around. Longer limbs being somewhat better for that. But again, I think the most critical part is getting the bar moving from the floor. I think that's where we have to consider these body types, but we also just have to look at what speeds we've got coming off the floor, how easily somebody breaking the floor, because we don't ever want to put an athlete in a position in weightlifting where there's just too much strain on the back for them to develop the speeds that they're going to need later in the pull, or topple them forward, or just put overall too much strain on the back over time. So again, basic rules go along with the body types, yes, absolutely. But then there are many variations. There are variations within the body types where somebody might be almost one lower and a different one high up in the torso. But there are also just variations that you want to look at as to how much strength you know a person has after you've trained them for a while, and how much it looks like their bodies can take, the muscles of their bodies can take, because sometimes the muscles can't put up with the positions you're trying to put them through. Okay, we're going to talk about a subject of some controversy. It shouldn't be, but there is. In whether in the first pull your back torso remains at a constant angle as you move the bar from the floor, or whether there's a varying angle that moves the bar from the floor. This is a little different than if somebody's got a dynamic, it's a lot different. If somebody's got a dynamic start and they lower their hips but don't move the bar off the floor until the back angle is constant. This means that from the low position, when somebody starts to move, they're moving the bar away from the floor with that first movement. And there will be a small area below their knee where they do have a constant angle, versus somebody that from the very start moves the bar off the floor with a pretty constant angle of torso in the first pull. Some books and some coaches think that it should only be this constant angle. However, a lot of video proof says that that's not the way a lot of people move the bar off the floor. A lot more of it has to do with how one or another athlete might better overcome the inertia of the bar and get it moving off the floor. And it also comes down to sometimes what's the strength of the torso versus the strength of the legs. How can we hold this person in good position in the really important parts where you start to transition from the first pull to the second and have them in the correct position to go into the power position with good form and good position over the foot. So my feeling is that rather than judge things by a constant angle from floor to the beginning of the second pull or the transition to the second of the floor, we judge it by what the knee position is in front of the bar and kind of set their hips there first, and then again go back to how strong are they in this position. I still want the knee in front of the bar, but if their back isn't quite as strong, or I think their legs are over strong, I might lower them a little bit so their back doesn't take a tremendous beating coming off the floor, and I'll let them achieve the constant position as they go through the first pull. Both types have very successful lifters. Neither one is absolute. There's not going to be one that's necessarily better than another. It's going to be one's going to suit some people and one is going to suit another. And I think you have to, as a coach, you have to find that and not be dogmatic about what angle the back is going to stay at from the floor to the knee. You find out what works better for an athlete, and then you go with that. And we've got many examples in here of people that start the bar differently off the floor. All of them are successful. And I think you've got to understand that there is an area of that first pull that the shoulders, yes, have to be out in front of the bar, and the back has to stay at a constant angle, but it's not necessarily from the floor through the whole first pull. It can vary to that consistency right below the knee, or it can start and hold that consistency of angle through the knee and into the readjustment and then the second pull.
Hey guys, now do me a favor. Go subscribe to our channel, like our videos, comment. I promise you if you comment, I'll get back to you and answer all your questions. Thanks for watching.